Hello, my friends. How are we doing today? I wanted to show off the Analogue Pocket Dock today. Now, the docking station is going to be the same thing, really, as what you would expect from the Nintendo Switch. So, of course, with the Switch, if you have the normal, regular Nintendo Switch, not the Switch Lite, but if you got like the standard Nintendo Switch, you're able to put it into the docking station and then play it on your big screen. And so this is like the same premise here, except it's the Analogue Pocket. And so there's been a lot of questions as far as the quality, how it looks, if it actually works. Because in the beginning, when that dock first came out, there were some questions about compatibility and how well it works. So I'm here to kind of go over those details and just give an example of some games playing on it. I'm going to play some games on cartridge and then also write off the SD card to show you how it works. Real quick here, I have the website up. This is Analogue's website. And this is for the Pocket, and if you scroll down, I'll show you here. You'll be able to see what the dock looks like. And it's about what you'd expect. Here it is here. So again, you just dock your Pocket into this little docking station. And you do have two USB right here. And you can just hook up your 8-bit controllers directly to it. Now you might be saying, Steve, what did you just say? What kind of controllers? And it's 8-bit do. So the number 8, BITDO. And I have a handful of controllers from this company. I had bought them, I'd say at least 5 years ago, possibly longer. But these controllers are fantastic. It actually mentions it right here, but I wanted to just kind of get it out there that I have a handful of these controllers. You can see here. Here's one of them. This is the Super Famicom 8-bit controller, and it's basically a Super Nintendo controller. The only difference here is the colors of the buttons, and that's the colors that were used for the Super Famicom, which, of course, was the Super Nintendo's name in Japan. And then I have some Nintendo controllers from them as well. And these work great. The reason I like 8-bit controllers is because they're as close as possible to the original controllers. No other company comes close. So I've been very impressed with the 8-bit controllers, and I don't have enough great things to say about it. Let's put it that way. So Analogue's teamed up with 8-bit, and I believe for the same reason, because they know these controllers are absolute quality. And you can see here, you can sync up any wireless 8-bit Bluetooth or 2.4 gigahertz controller directly to the dock for wireless play. And there is 4-player support as well. Right now, I have my controller synced up to the dock using the Bluetooth. And I'm using actually my 8-bit SN30 Pro controller that's for the Switch. So I'm just using the D-pad. I'm not actually using the analog sticks. And so with that said, I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like here. And this is the dock's operating system. You have your settings here. Pocket, you go systems, and you can select what system, like for what games you're going to be playing. So if you're playing regular Game Boy, you can select Game Boy, Game Boy Color, GBA, and Game Gear. And by selecting the system, I believe it just kind of dials in the settings for that specific system. Okay, and then you can go to the actual dock controllers, and this is where you pair your controller. It's coming up as a Sony PS4, PS5 gamepad, but it's not. Not sure why it does that, but the important thing is that it works. I don't really care what it says as long as it works good, right? And then you have your video output here. So this on my TV, it's running at 1080p. It's a 4K TV, but of course, you know, this portable system's not going to output at 4K. Be pretty wild if it did, but it looks fantastic, and you'll see in a second. Then we have the analog operating system, so you can change the startup action. And all of analog systems are like this. So if you have any of their other systems, like the Nintendo or the Super Nintendo or the Sega, you're able to change the startup actions. Let's see, we got that tools. We got some things here that I'm not going to get into, but if you're interested in seeing what this is, you can go to Analogue's website, select the Pocket. There will be more information about this. And then here's the two main options. So open FPGA. This is where you can play games off of an SD card. Okay. I'll go ahead and show you that first, and then I'll also show you games from a cartridge. The cartridge I have is the GBA X7 from Krikz, KRIKKZ, I believe, or KRIKZZ. And you're able to basically get a Game Boy or Game Boy Advance cartridge that you're able to put games on in the same way that the Open FPGA works. So they're very similar. And I had originally bought the cartridge before the Open FPGA was a thing, to where you could actually side load games onto your Analogue Pocket. So I believe this would be the preferred method now. So we'll go ahead and pull this up. You can see there's tons of options here. So you got Atari 7800, ColecoVision. A great game on Coleco is the Smurfs. It's actually not a great game. Just fond memories from playing that back in the day. You do have some arcade games on here that I was able to put on. Dig Dug, Donkey Kong, Galaga. There's a few more on here, I believe. But this is where the real action's going to be. So Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color. I haven't put any Game Gear games on here. I'm sure I will down the road. We got Sega Genesis games. NES. So I definitely put a curated list of games together for the Nintendo. PC Engine. So that's going to be your TurboGrafx 16. Pong, Qbert, the Sharp SG-1000. I don't have any games for that, but I'd be interested in checking some out. They do have a Castlevania game on here that I would be interested in seeing how it runs. Super Nintendo, of course. Snow Brothers 2. This is the actual Snow Brothers 2 game. That it was an arcade game that was a sequel to Snow Brothers on NES. Super Game Boy is basically, you can play any of the Game Boy games with the Super Game Boy border, just like you could on the Super Nintendo back in the day. So if you have, some nostalgia for that, they've got you covered. So I'll go ahead and show you. We'll start with the NES run. And these are all the games that I put on here. Now, of course, I own all of these games, so I'm able to put all of these on here. So, I mean, as we know, the Nintendo games, the file sizes are very small, so you're able to fit the entire library, if you want, onto an SD card, along with Super Nintendo, Sega, all the Game Boy. Throw it onto an SD card, no problem. You can do a 16 gig mini SD card to get all these on here. We'll go ahead and pull up one of my favorites. It's It's definitely not everyone else's favorite, but I enjoy this game for a multitude of reasons. This was the first Nintendo game I bought myself with my own money. I bought it from Gamers, which was our favorite video game store growing up. And I bought it used for $6.99. I remember, and I actually still have the price tag on the game. So, anyways, let's check it out. So, as you can see, runs fine. And we'll go right into the game, and we'll start in the town, I believe. And so it's exactly how you remember it, except not. Because if you were to hook up a regular Nintendo today to your high definition TV or flat screen, it would not run good. It would look absolutely horrible. If you try to put the audio cables into your TV, if you even have that output on your flat screen, high definition 4K TV, the colors look horrible. The image is distorted, and you have serious input lag, which anyone who grew up playing old school games, you know that you cannot have any input lag, especially if you're playing like a platformer. You will fall down the drain. You will, you'll die all the time. If you try playing something like Mega Man, it would be an absolute nightmare. So you cannot have any input lag. And you would have that today if you tried hooking up your OG Nintendo, Super, Sega, you name it. Because they weren't built for that. That's literally why I own a CRT TV still. Because if you're going to hook up your old systems to it, you need a CRT to make sure that you don't have any input lag whatsoever. Classic. What a horrible night to have a curse. I love this game. I do. I truly do. I know it's quirky. I know it's very vague. When I say vague, I mean when you talk to the townsfolk, they give you very vague clues. The word vague is probably even generous, because the clues a lot of times don't make sense. But that's what makes this game, I think, so gratifying, is when you actually do, or if you ever do beat this game. I mean, you did it on your own. Especially if you beat it growing up in the 80s, like pre-internet, where there are no guides. You just have to figure it out yourself. I could talk about this game for too long. I don't want to bore people, so I'll show you some other games here. So again, that was the NES. We'll go ahead and go to Game Boy here. I'll show you what that looks like. We'll go with a classic. How about, well, let's check out the real Ghostbusters, actually. This isn't a real classic to me. The Ghostbusters are, of course, but not this game specifically. Oh, man. That sounds great. So it's kind of crazy seeing a Game Boy game on a screen this big. But it actually looks really good. This is interesting. Yeah, let me use my key. Let me jump over this guy. There we go. Look at this. Imagine buying this game as a kid. I'd be like, what is this? This does not really resemble Ghostbusters. It's like a puzzle game, almost. This is kind of trash. I'm going to get out of this. I'm sorry to put anyone through that. Well, here's a cartridge. So let me show you how it looks if you actually have a cartridge here. And again, you're going to get a lot of the same stuff. But what's cool, I think, with the cartridge is we can put some hacks on here, as we see right here. So let's go hacks, and I'll show you. Let me see if it's on here. Mario Adventure, yeah, right up here. So if you've ever, if you haven't played this hack, it's totally worth playing. I actually own the game on cartridge. And if you were to Google this game, if you're totally unfamiliar with it, this is one of the greatest video game hacks of all time, because it's basically a hack of Mario 3. And it's actually really, really good. Like, it could stand alongside Mario 3. Yeah, here we go. So like this whole game is hacked. Meaning like new levels, new worlds, new items. I think they even have like rain and snow in the game. Yeah, look at that. That's what I'm talking about. Now this is running on a Game Boy cartridge, so I will say that it runs better on my Nintendo. But it's running, which is crazy, right? Okay, so there's just a little demo of this game. What's nice about these controllers is you can just press the home button and just back right out of here. So we'll go ahead and do that real quick. Pull up the Open FPGA again, and let's go with the SNES. Run. And yeah, here's one of our, many of our all-time favorites right here, Chrono Trigger. Takes a moment to load up. Love that music. Such an epic game. For anyone who's never played this, go do it. You're in for a real treat. Definitely one of the best JRPGs of all time. I would have to say it's the best Super Nintendo RPG as well. As we know, there are many, many great RPGs for Super Nintendo. I mean, outside of Chrono, you have the Final Fantasies, Earthbound, Secret of Mana, just to name a few. So, okay, there's Chrono Trigger running. So this would be a fun one for me just to play portably on the Pocket. But, if I get tired of that and I want to play it on the big screen, I could just throw it in the dock and pick up where I left off. Now, if you're wondering like how to get all these games on your Analogue Pocket, Google's your friend. Just check Google. It will tell you how to do this and how to get the games and everything else. And we'll go ahead and check out Sega real quick. See how this baby runs. This was a good one back in the day. Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse. One of the rare licensed games that were good. Disney usually did a pretty good job with their licensed games. Is this going to run? Maybe we ran into a problem. So let's see. Maybe it was just the game. Or it's the Sega. So let's check this out. Let's try Castlevania Bloodlines. Okay, this one booted up just fine. So I guess Castle of Illusion maybe? There we go. But this looks great. I mean, the video quality on this is... You're not going to get this anywhere else. You'll never get this on your Sega. Hooking it up to a CRT. Again, that's the best way to play it because you won't have any input lag. But you'll never get a picture this great. And what's cool about this Analogue Pocket is that, I mean, it's essentially outside of being a portable Game Boy. You got Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Game Gear, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega. And there's more you can put on this. Again, Google's your friend. Check it out. But there's tons of other games you can put on here. I don't feel I need to put all these games on here personally. But if we go to the Open FPGA, you can see that there are tons of systems here. Channel F, ColecoVision, Creative Vision. Obviously, you have your Game Boys, your Game Gear, Game King, and Television, the Sega Master System, the Mega Duck, the Neo Geo, the Odyssey 2, PC Engine, SG-1000, SNES, Snow Brothers 2. I mean, you name it. There's a lot on here. And they're always updating. So there's always more systems being added. So it's definitely something that if you were to pick up an Analogue Pocket, you'd want to look into this for sure. So let's see. We'll check out one more. Check out Game Boy Color. And we'll pull up... try Pokemon. Let's find out where that is. Good old Pokemon Crystal. Sure, a lot of us have fond memories of this growing up. Yep. Runs perfect. Looks great. It's just cool to be able to play on your big screen too. Is that classic theme? Love it. So there you have it. This is the Analogue Pocket Dock. I don't regret buying it. I think it's great. I don't think there's any reason why I wouldn't want to have this. Just to be able to play all these portable games on your big screen is great. Because let's face it, like holding a portable video game system for hours isn't really ideal. Your hands are probably going to cramp up a little bit. And it's just a lot nicer on the eyes to be able to play it on a big 50, 60, 70, 80 inch TV, whatever you got. It's just nice to be able to sit down and play on a big screen and enjoy the whole thing. And again, this looks fantastic. This is just duplicating the display that is on your Analogue Pocket. So it's going to look great on your big screen. So if you're in the market for an Analogue Pocket, or you already bought an Analogue Pocket and you're curious, hey, should I pick up the Analogue Dock? I would say absolutely. It's completely worth it. Hopefully you don't have to go to eBay to get it. Hopefully Analogue will have it on their website to buy. Or if they don't, if they're sold out, hopefully they'll restock soon. Because I did check eBay just a little bit earlier, and they were going for $200-300 on eBay. The Analogue Dock goes for about, I think, $99 on Analogue's website. So if you can wait for Analogue to restock it, if it is sold out, which it has been pretty steadily sold out. I only have it because I pre-ordered this over a year ago, and finally got it just a couple weeks ago. So absolutely, if you're in the market, I would totally pick up the dock so you can play all of these games on your big screen TV. And I'm looking forward to playing something like Mother for Game Boy Advance, the one that never came out, here in the States. That's something I'll be playing soon. Well, thanks y'all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you liked what you saw, please do me a solid. Like the video, share with your friends and family. And if you're new here to the Thunder Steve 85 channel, please subscribe. Hope you all have a great day.